Oh, how unkind. Forgive me. Forgiven. The fallacy of youth. Isn't it rather clear that it is we, women of decision, who hold the trumps?
Lady Susan. Lady Susan Vernon.
How dare you address me, sir?
Lady Susan.
Be gone, sir. I will have you whipped.
Outrageous. Have you never met him?
No, I know him well. I would never speak to a stranger like that.
Hello, welcome to Hatihot, with Itzcar, Yoav. Today we are with Whit Stillman, the director of such great films as Metropolitan, Barcelona, Last Days of Disco, Damsels in Distress, and his new movie, Love and Friendship, which being shown here at the festival. So, welcome to Israel.
Thank you.
How are you enjoying your staying here?
It's marvelous. Jerusalem is marvelous.
Is this your first time in Israel?
Yes, it is. Couldn't be more pleased.
So, first of all, let's talk about your big absence from filmmaking.
Yes.
You made
Director's Jail.
Yeah, you made 3 great films in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then you were in you call it a jailbreak. The jail.
They call it Director Jail.
Director Jail.
I call it Director Prison.
For 13 years, and then.
Yeah. I mean, I don't count it quite that way because this is the novel I've done now for the new film, Love and Friendship. But I also had the idea of doing a novel derived from Last Days of Disco. So I had a really nice contract from Farrar Straus to do that as a literary novel, extrapolating from that world. So I did take 2 years off to do that novel. It came out in 2000. So I kind of counted 10 years from 2000 when the novel came out to 2010 when we started shooting Damsels in Distress. And in that period, I was mostly in jail in London. I was living in Paris, but I'd go across to London to try to set up my projects. And the people there were very nice to me about giving me commissions to do scripts. But from the script to doing the production, I never made that happen. It's a different situation in Britain, and I had gotten into this thing of being a screenwriter for money, and it was kind of a terrible experience. I didn't realize then how bad it was, because I always thought I was about to do a film. So I had this Jamaican project, and I was down there in Jamaica doing casting locations with a really good producer, Jeremy Thomas, and I thought it happened, but it didn't happen. So it ended up being 10 years in director of prison. And I had a prison breakout thanks to one of the people here, Sony Classics, and also Castle Rock Films, that had backed my second and third films, Barcelona, and Last Days Disco. They also backed Damsels in Distress.
And was it hard to go back to directing after such a long time?
Not at all. I mean, the hard thing is not directing, the hard thing is writing, and getting the money to do a film. Those are the 2 hard things.
And what do you think is the...
You're also the writer of your movies.
Yes, and that's the hard part. Directing is easy stuff. I mean, directing is a little bit like shooting rapids. So, okay, you can shoot the rapids well or badly, but you're going down. The problem with writing is it's more like paddling up the rapids. And directing is shooting down the rapids.
Also, there's something in your movies that the dialogue is very present, like the talk between the people, it's a main part in the movie. So maybe this is part of your doing, like you're like a director or
that's
a movie
probably,
maker.
That's probably a weakness. I mean, some of that is like, the dialogue is actually a sort of superstructure to create the characters and create the story, that you actually should be able to let it go by the wayside somewhat. So I think that's a residue of creating the story. And sometimes I've probably allowed too much of that structure to remain in the movie. And I think one of the things that's really helping this film, Love and Friendship, be popular is I think I pulled back actually in the dialogue. There's much more dialogue originally in the script, and we went more into kind of comic performance pieces by these wonderful English actors, such as Tom Bennett playing Sir James Martin, Justin Edwards playing Charles Vernon, an actress named Jen Murray playing Lady Mannering. So we had these sort of performance pieces that are more performance pieces than dialogue pieces, and that helped us a lot. And I think part of my education process for getting away from pure dialogue was doing the pilot with Amazon Studios, the Cosmopolitans, because they totally sat on me about cutting dialogue. And I think we cut a little too much. I regret about losing 2 sentences. But I learned quite a bit doing that TV show.
And what's happening with this TV show? You did the pilot?
Well, I should be writing it right this second. I should be up in my hotel room writing away. I have a commission to do 6 scripts, and it's been really slow going, and I'm changing the trajectory of the story quite a bit. It was going to be sort of a, romantic comedy drama set in Paris. Now it's going over sort of more far afield in Europe.
Do you think that you have to, these days, maybe lower down the language of your films for more
Audience?
For the audience? Because
I mean, generally we have never done that, and I think that if our films have lasting power, staying power, it's because we don't do that at all. I mean, I feel that, I want to be able to understand everything in our films, but we don't want to dumb anything down, because there's just so much of that is going on, and I think that work is more lasting. Maybe you will have resistance initially to something, but over the long term, people will like it better. So you get this reaction in our films that if they see it a second or third time by some reason, they do like it better rather than like it less. And I think that's because there's a lot of material that in the first scene you're maybe not picking everything up, but it rewards a second viewing.
And how do you think the cinema has changed in the time of your absence?
Well, I think it kind of went around to where it was. So when I was sort of beginning in the 80s, there were a lot of these very small budget independent films that were really pretty good. In the 90s, people thought it was a business that should be run like other parts of Hollywood, with star casting and foreign sales and bigger budgets. And that was nice as far as there were a couple of years when there were actually decent paychecks. But it ended up not working. Those films didn't work. And there's kind of a boom and a bubble and a bust. And it went really bad. They were making no films really. And then these people, I think, with mumblecore, independent, super independent films came back to do really funny films and really good films. And so
most of them moved to the mainstream.
I think it's gotten really good again. It's pretty good. The budgets have to be really small.
So you turn the money to the indie cinema, so you turn the audience or the money to the independent cinema. These days, there is more.
I think there are a lot of these good. I think there are a lot of these good little indie films that people are making, these comedies, and a lot of them, I think, they're a lot closer to the kind of films I was trying to make in the '90s than to the other independent films in the '90s. Like Quentin Tarantino's here at the festival, and I think that everyone in the '90s was following Quentin Tarantino. No one was following our films except for Noah Baumbach. And now there are other people who are working in the same vineyards that our films work in.
I really thought about not being involved when I saw Metropolitan, last days of דיסקו, and in both films you have a group, in the name of the movie, not a certain character, but more like a social group or a social class. And why is this true?
Well, they're ensemble comedies, and that's sort of just the way I happened to end up writing them. In Barcelona, it was a little bit more focused on 2 principal roles, 2 cousins, and we didn't have big stars playing those. We had actors we liked from Metropolitan. Oddly, I think this film is my first star casting film because Lady Susan Vernon, the lead in Love and Friendship, is a star part. It's really dominant in the story, so it's perfectly logical that Kate Beckinsale, who's now a big star, would do this one. It's been a problem for our films that we haven't had star parts because it's easier to make a film with a star part.
Also in Metropolitan, there is a lot of talk about Jane Austen. The characters between themselves talk about Jane Austen, so Jane Austen is like something you would return to the issue.
Yes.
Why did it?
Well, I was very close to Jane Austen. I loved her books, and when I was writing Metropolitan and I was taking breaks, I would read a page or 2 of Jane Austen just to clear the palate, get thinking the right way. And then there's this wonderful material I had from a friend who completely misread a Lionel Trilling essay about Mansfield Park. So Lionel Trilling actually loves Mansfield Park. But he starts out his essay saying, how can we today identify with this situation with this goody-goody heroine and her absurd predicament of opposing private theatricals and all this. But that's just like the first page. Then he goes on to say how relevant, how wonderful Mansfield Park is and important it is. And so that was, I saw that as a funny opportunity for a debate between the lead characters in Metropolitan. And I thought, well, actually, wouldn't it be interesting if Audrey Rouget in our film got in the same sort of situation that Fanny Price was in? And what would that situation be? It's like objecting to something that seems innocent when it's not. So I think we see this today in reality television. I was really against reality television when it started. I thought it was really like, if things are prohibited, they should prohibit that. I remember the American Indians had a legend that they didn't want to be photographed because they felt their photograph would take their souls. And I think reality TV does that. And now we see the political consequences of reality TV. We wouldn't be in this fix with our presidential nominee if it hadn't been for reality TV. So I think a lot of these prohibitions that just seem fusty and irrelevant are actually valid. And so in Jane Austen's thing, it was the private theatricals, and in our movie, it was the truth or dare game. So the truth or dare game, if you lose, you have to answer questions completely truthfully and honestly. And that's always a bad idea. Do not do that if it's going to lead to bad consequences.
Can you tell us about this book?
Yes, this is this crazy project I did. I signed it up with a publisher before I did the film, and I was supposed to finish the text before I did the film. And I was really glad I blew through all my deadlines and didn't start writing the novel until I'd finished the edit for our movie. So what this is so
Jane Austen, named after Jane Austen.
Jane Austen left what was called Lady Susan by her nephew. It wasn't her title. In kind of incomplete form. So to do the film, we had to change it, we had to dramatize it. And I knew when I was making the film, even before I had any financing for it, people really loved reading the script. Because the script was a dramatized, easier to read version of the Jane Austen. I knew there's something here. I got the contract, and then when I finished the movie, I said, well, yes, we are going to have sort of the movie in this novel. But I discovered this really funny character, Sir James Martin. And I've been immersed in Jane Austen's nephew's memoir of his aunt. So why don't we have Sir James Martin's nephew do a memoir of his aunt, Lady Susan Vernon, defending her against the spinster authoress who's made up all this stuff against her. So this is Lady Susan Vernon being entirely vindicated by her dim-witted, pretentious nephew. So it's sort of, we have the comedy that's in the movie, and then we have this whole other level of absurdity and comedy with this narrator, Rufus Martin Colonna. And it really, I mean, it was such a scary thing to have this tight deadline to do it, but this character came alive in this absurd way, so it turned out kind of funny, and I'm trying to push it as much as I can. It will be in bookstores here pretty soon.
At least you didn't add zombies like in the...
No zombies at all. Completely out of this. It's really for Jane Austen fans or postmodern comedy fans. I think it's a bit Evelyn Waugh-esque if people like Evelyn Waugh.
Okay.
So time is out, but maybe just last word. What is your new project? Like what you're working on?
Well, I'm going back to the pilot for the Cosmopolitan. I've got to write those 6 episodes. I still have my Jamaican early '60s music scene film I'd like to do. Except it also has angels and demons, and
like the Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks movie about the
no, not that at all. But angels and demons can be very funny, and there's a whole tradition in cinema of funny angels. So I'm going to have funny angels in my Jamaican film, which is congruent with the way they believe. And then I have a secret Jane Austen project I'd like to get back to, a serious Jane Austen project.
Okay, hopefully you don't go in director's prison.
I hope I don't get back to director's jail or prison again. Hope they don't lock me up.
Yeah.
You've got to be careful.
Good luck.
Enjoy the
Thank
rest
you
of the series.
for the interview.
Thanks very much.